Look, I know what my mom wants. You know, she wants me to play a certain song because events that are going on right now. You know, today Netanyahu thanked President Trump for bombing Iran and blowing up their 3 nuclear facilities. And so, you know, I'm thinking about a Bob Dylan song, Neighborhood Bully. Because, look, you gotta try to figure out who's the real bully here. Iran's not the bully. All right, Iran, you know, had an agreement, you know, about their nuclear facilities. Their nuclear facilities could be inspected and everything. It was in the Obama era. President Trump, you know, ripped that all up, and so it was no good. Well, that's because that didn't work for Israel. Israel wants to be like, you know, the imperialistic state in the Middle East. And you know, Israel's been bullied. Obviously, you know about the Holocaust. And you know, they got a rich religious and theological and philosophical history. And you know, I mean, in their writings, you know, they refer to the lands like Palestine and Iran. Iran is the biggest part over there. And you see, what you got to understand is now, okay, Israel was bullied, but now Israel is the bully. All right. They're the ones who are defying international norms and law. They don't. But everybody's got what you call ulterior motivation, you know, and you know, you have to understand is what you see here in the news is not really what's going on. That's the narrative they want to feed the populace to appease the populace and to get more funding for their budget, what they want. And everything you need to understand is in the world and in our society. You see, we might think that we're free. That's an illusion. All right. You know, you might think you own your own property. Well, you don't really own your own property. All right. You've got a title deed to your property. You can do what you want to it under a certain set of rules, and you can call it yours. But if you don't pay your taxes, no, the government will take away your property. So, you know, and the other thing is, look, I was in the military, right? All right. I had a friend, Benny Benetaka. He was from Iran, and I you know, so I know one person. Every day during the Gulf War, we worked together, and he was an Iranian, and so, you know, we weren't at war with Iran when I was in the Navy. I don't know what he thinks today, since that's his motherland. But he was a good guy. And you see, when we depersonalize people, then we can kill them. Yeah. And I'll tell you, Bob Dylan sings another song, and it's a war song too. It bears the name of the fella whose experience the song was a response out of. And Dylan wrote it. I'm pretty sure he wrote it. And but it's about a boy going to war, and then his mom was so proud of him and everything. And then when he came home from war, he was all disfigured, mangled. He didn't look the same. He didn't talk the same. And he dropped his medals in his mom's hand. And he said the thing that disturbed him most was when he looked into the enemy's eyes. They looked just like him. Right? That's a very touching song, but that's not the one I wound up. I'm gonna just play a little bit of "Neighborhood Bully" from Bob Dylan, just a little bit, just because I hope that you listen to it one day. I hope you listen to all Bob Dylan's music. Bob Dylan is my greatest mentor in my lifetime, and his music, guides me and guided me and propelled me into deeper considerations. So, I always draw upon his lyrics, his poetry. But and then, of course, I'm gonna turn on my mom's music and play it in the background, as she wants. And I queued it up already to at least track number 7 on here that I think is one that's pertinent. Like, I don't have them all memorized, but I know them all, but I don't know what order and everything and titles and stuff. But I listened to them when I was growing up 100 times or more. And the thing is, in the world economy and stuff, and I say freedom is kind of like an illusion. Well, look, that's we want to be like the land of the brave and the home of the free and stuff, but it's kind of like a front, see? Because see, a lot of what things have to do with is the dollar and our economy and the security of our economy. And so America has always been highly dependent on oil. Is where you make gasoline from and everything like that. They need oil for everything. And so they have what you call a petrodollar, and that comes from the petro, meaning fuel, and that comes from the relationship that we have forged with like Saudi Arabia and other places that sell oil. Iran has oil, and we have oil too. But the thing is, they want the oil to be sold in the dollar, because in that currency, our currency, and that makes our dollar valuable. Because if everybody in the world started using another currency, then our dollar wouldn't be valuable anymore. And we could be squished out real easy. We could. You're talking about not tariffs, but it's just when they put restrictions on other companies, on other states and countries, so to make it hard on them, so they can't hardly live, and as punishment, and we do that through monetary mechanisms, and the money is one thing. So look, the military is really the point, and it's like in military, in the army, especially, you have a point man, and because things go like in a triangle, and the point man is first, and that way, if, you know, he's like the tip of the sword, you know. And everybody gets blown up. Point man's going to get blown up first, probably, you know. But he's the sharpest and most skilled, fit for the job. And but the military is sort of our point man. And see, if you read like in the Pentagon Papers and maybe the presidential memoirs throughout history, you'll see the plans, and they have this all written out. See, like, okay, for example, you know, Iran. If we can overtake Iran, and stop Iran from, you know, doing whatever Iran wants to do, but do what we want to be done, then, you know, we can put a barrier between Russia and China. Okay? And it's all strategic stuff, and you know, because you know, Russia is the biggest place, and China, I mean, you know, I think our debt is, we have a lot of debt to China. Like, we owe China a lot of money. You know, Russia don't owe other countries money, you know. The only country that owns a lot of countries and stuff money is the United States. That's why we're vulnerable. And that's why they want to protect our interests. And so there's a lot of hidden factors. And Israel has their motivations for, you know, conquering and enslaving Iran. You know, because they're right next to Iran, and Israel doesn't even own that much. I mean, they don't even like own Palestine, which is part of it, considered like part of Israel. But well, I don't know if it is or not, but it's all real close together. And so Israel, Netanyahu, who actually is an American. Yeah, Netanyahu's an American, yeah. But he's the prime minister of Israel. I don't know if he had to give up his American citizenship to become the prime minister of Israel or not, but I mean, you know, he's tied to America, and so, you know, and Israel is kind of our point man in the Middle East, and so they do things at our bidding, and then we help them, and you know, we're kind of sensitive to them, especially because, like a favored child, because our religion comes from Judaism, the Christian religion, you know, comes from Judaism, and so they have their reasons for doing what they do, you know, and they are the bully. They are the bully of the Middle East, you know, and it's not Iran. You know, we start a lot of fights. We start them. We actually start them. We actually go in propaganda, and we do a lot of bad stuff. America does. That's why, and we don't keep our word. That's why the countries say foul on America. You know, America's the bully. All right, they've always been the bully. The luxury that we live in is because we bullied our way into it. Took advantage of other people. You know, and the Catholic Church, the bully, the Crusades, the Inquisitions, they killed people, all kinds of people. In the Old Testament, you know, it says, like, you know, for you go into the city and kill every man, woman, boy, and girl. Direct order from God. But you go figure that one out. You know, I don't think it's meant to be figured out. I think it's meant to be avoided. I say sometimes, God is the God of our own making. God is our own projection. We project who God is out there, and then we worship that God. Well, it's really what idols, in the Christian tradition, idols are like the gods of our own creation. And you got the god, you got Ashtaroth, which is a female deity, and that's the god of fertility, right? And people worship Ashtaroth. And you got the god Baal, or Baal, however you pronounce it. You can pronounce it either way. But that is a picture of the bull, and that's the god of brute force. All right. Some people worship Baal, the god of brute force, and so we make our own gods. We have our own gods. We try to say God is on our side. Well, that's another good Bob Dylan song. But I'll probably do that one at some other point. But I'm gonna hit this one right here. This is Bob Dylan, Neighborhood Bully.
He's just one man, he's in on mistake. He's on that land, they got him a number, out of million to one. He got no place to step to, no place to run. He's a neighborhood bully.
Hey. It goes on, and it's a deep song. And it makes you ask yourself the question, okay, who's he talking about? I love that about Bob Dylan, because a lot of times in his music, you realize he's talking about everybody. He ain't just talking about Iran. He ain't just talking about Israel. He ain't just talking about America. He's talking about everybody. And really, what I wanted to say is to be careful that you don't get sucked into narratives that aren't really true, and it's like somebody telling you a lie. Like, one time one person told me a lie about a person, and I couldn't, and then I hated that person for what that person did. It was to me, but it was a lie. I believed that lie for a whole year, and it made me feel for a whole year negative thoughts about that person. And then the person told me that he lied. And I said, Jesus Christ, man, I harbored those feelings about that person for a whole year based on a lie. Well, the government lies to us. They make us think that what they're doing is because it's a response to a certain thing, when it ain't that at all. It's because they got another agenda. We're just pieces on the chessboard, They got ulterior motivation, right? I wish I was an expert in political affairs and stuff like that, to make this more clear. But I'm being suggestive, all right? Because when you see this, I don't know what your world's going to be like. I know that we're sitting on a powder keg. Look, if Russia decided to side with Iran and their neighbors, and they already have worked with Iran, if they said, look, we're going to come defend you, you just stand with us, and we'll stand by you, and we ain't going to let nobody interfere, and we're going to liberate your people, and we're going to say to hell with everybody else. You want to fight? Come on! Let's do this! See? Let's do this. You want to fight? I'm ready to fight to the death. Eh? So be prepared. You think you're gonna pick on these poor people? You think you're gonna really do that? You think you're gonna get away with it? Let's see how tough you really are. Eh? Well, we could be up for a rude awakening, and America deserves it. For all the atrocities America has committed. You listen to what the other people say about America. Don't believe all the bullshit you hear, how great we are. We're monsters. In the world stage, we're monsters. And we've always been monsters. The luxury that you live in is ill-gotten gain. Well, I gotta turn my mom's music on here. Yeah, you know what? Yeah. Let's see everything that I play. Jesus Christ. I don't know. Alright, it's coming on. Lord, speak a little louder. I think the volume will come up. I don't know. I'm still working details out. But
I can't hear your voice above the noise and strife.
I can't hear your noise.
With those
above the noise and strife.
televisions blaring and no one even caring what happens to the other fellow's life.
What happens to the other fellow's life?
Lord, you can tell how
Okay.
hard we're trying.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's so hard to hear.
But the wool is pulled all over our eyes. The bags are put over our heads, so we don't know how we got here, where we came from. And, you know, they feed us a certain kind of logic, certain kind of image, certain kind of aspiration, a certain kind of motif. And they expect and they know that we will fall in line. And we will follow. Just like the dodo bird. Right off the cliff. The dodo birds, they'll follow one bird, and that one bird don't know where that bird's going, goes right over the cliff. All the dodo birds go over the cliff. You know, just like sheep, herding cattle, whatever. And you gotta be smarter. You gotta be smarter than that. You know, we need people that are gonna actually, now this is really pulling your head out of your ass. This is a true meaning of the metaphor, pulling your head out of your ass. Don't believe everything you hear. Question it. Go deep. Yeah, what do the actual primary sources say? What are the plans and the outlines of the military that you can read from Pentagon papers? What are they actually saying? No, it don't matter what you hear on Fox News. It's all about money. Backing the man. So, you know, it's sad. We can't do nothing about it. Look at the civil rights movement, you know. Look at the narrative from way back then. Look at the narrative how, they said, black people, used to be property. And it was accepted. And it was accepted by Christians. Okay? Say, how can you be a Christian and in colonial times and have slaves and whip them? Whip them so they move faster. Take their babies and just take them from the mother's arms so they don't know where even they come from. Trade them like cards in a card game. It's the world of the cross.
And you're the only one
Oh,
I can depend on.
we have to depend on God and pray to open our eyes to what's really going on. And we got to look. We can't just believe every lie. The world is full of lies. Everywhere you look, there's a lie. There's a lie about this, a lie about that. This is going to work for you. That's going to work for you. This is going to make you happy. If you can just aspire to this, you'll be all right now. No, that's a delusion. Go deep. So I'm telling you, go deep. Don't settle for mediocrity. Don't settle for the superficial. You see a handsome man? You know what? That handsome man might be, I think the guy's name was Charles Bundy. A psychopath, murderer.
But my heart can be
Well, look,
what my eyes could never see.
you gotta elevate your vision,
And without you,
and you gotta love that which is good.
alone.
And don't be the recipient of poison.
In this world of
Yeah. I listen to my mom's stuff. Why I'm talking. The only thing certain is dying. Okay? You look at the documentaries and stuff of people that talk about what happened, and you can see them, their own face, their own interviews, and telling how things happened for them, the atrocious things that they experienced and suffered, and then you put yourself in their shoes, and you have a vicarious experience, and you know what it is to see through their eyes, because you've been touched with something more than yourself. You think you've suffered? You don't know suffering. I ain't referring to my suffering. I'm referring to I've had it not so bad. I mean, I've suffered. Don't get me wrong, but I haven't suffered like some people suffered. I don't know. I guess hearing my mom's music in the background is that's what she would say. Right? That's what my mom would say. She would say, "We gotta pray." And just don't ever forget. That's why you're here. So T.S. Eliot said, the reason we're here is to pray. All right, bye.